We acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which this podcast has been produced, and we pay our respects to elders past and present.
When I think back to the carers who are really well liked and the ones that I've really appreciated the most, it's those who have that ability to build up rapport and to respect the older person for all their history and all their life experience that they've had.
One size does not fit all. We all have our quirks and our idiosyncrasies. We all come from different backgrounds.
I would assume nothing to start with, and then through careful discussion and picking up on clues that the client might give, try to be very, very understanding of what they might need and how to go about it.
Welcome to Snack, the aged care podcast where we break down some of the big questions around what it really means to be person-centred. I'm Dr. Andrea Petrisky. I'm a gerontologist and I'm passionate about hearing and sharing the real-life experiences of ageing. In the last episode, we talked about what good person-centred care looks and feels like. Today we're talking about what the skills and knowledge and approaches are that you need as a professional carer to provide that kind of support to people at home. So first up today we're hearing from Celsi, who's new to the home care scene but has been very involved in her community as a volunteer. And we asked Celsi what she thinks are the most important skills anyone in a caring or support role needs to have.
I guess the most important thing for me is that the carer has a genuine interest in people. If you like people, and an interest and care about their overall health and well-being. But above all else, I think it's really important for me is that the carers treat people as a person, not looking at what they need, to what their needs are, what their physical capabilities are. Just see them as a person. Obviously, be a good listener. Talk to people, listen to their stories, be understanding, non-judgmental about their needs and their requests. If it's possible, if it's doable, then just do it. Be intuitive, be trustworthy, give the person you're caring for, make them feel they can trust you and that you care about their needs and you respect their home, themselves. Be reliable. Turn up at the time when you say, when at the appointed time. And if you can't make it, just give them a quick buzz and say, look, I'm just down the road or I'll be another 20 minutes. Just keep them informed of where you are and so they know that the service is coming. And if you actually pick up on something, if you pick up on some vibes of somebody might say to you, I'm not having a good day today, don't dismiss that. Show compassion, another really important one, especially if someone has lost a loved one. Acknowledge their grief.
It's great to be able to hear from multiple perspectives. And Jude worked in the community aged care sector, now receives support in her own home, and also cared for her husband who received services at home. Let's hear what she had to say.
I'm very much aware that the worker who comes to me actually is also talking to the management person. So I know that she's on board. She's up to date on me.
Yeah,
and I think it's just a good personality fit. We're both a bit mad, I think, really. We both love gardening and we both love animals. And so the dog, I tell the dog when the worker is coming on that morning and she sits at the door and waits.
Yeah.
I just get so excited when this person walks through the door. So
the whole household's formed a relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah, very much so. She doesn't define her job simply as cleaning my house. She's there to monitor me, to notice changes. that might be occurring in me. And I think that's the other thing. Like she'll sometimes actually make a suggestion about changing something. She might see something that might be a bit of a falls risk or something like that, and she's always very respectful in the way she approaches that. Do you think, Jude, this is in the right place? Do you think perhaps it might be better if we put it there? And we'll have a discussion about it. And so because I am a gardener, there are certain tasks that are a bit risk-taking. And so I will do some of those sometimes when the worker is there. And so, I'll say to her, I'm going to do some control risk behaviour today. And she'll say, how are you going with the control risk behaviour? And so she's monitoring my safety. So it's very much a cooperative sort of relationship.
Now, of course, there are different ways that people find the support staff that are right for them, and that can include choosing those staff themselves through an agency. Ian supports his wife Rosemary, who lives with dementia, and they have experience with that process of choosing individual care staff, as well as receiving support at home. Here's what Ian said about their experience and what really mattered to them.
I was doing the looking, of course, because my wife didn't have the capacity to do that. So I was looking for somebody that I thought maybe could look after me in my old age. Somebody who was caring. I thought I needed somebody with experience because of her dementia, but maybe if not experience, at least an understanding and maybe some training or some limited experience in dementia care. I wanted someone who could manage Rosemary's wishes, her needs, and supervise her movements safely. That was a big thing after she had broken her hip. With her dementia, she wasn't stable on her feet at all. But we were looking for a companion, a friend who drops in rather than an official carer or nurse. At least that's what would be in Rosemary's mind. So their brief was simple. Sit with her, have a cuppa, listen to her, talk with her, not to her, just be a friend, and be able to manage a short walk around the house to the toilet, the kitchen, etc.
Yeah. So was there anything that you knew would make someone definitely not a good fit? Was there something you particularly watched out for when you were choosing people?
So I watched Rosemary's reaction to this guest in our house. Quite a few of them were giving the short shrift by her after 5 minutes. She just told them to go. So therefore, she knew. She's a very intuitive woman. Even though she has dementia, very intuitive, she knew the ones that perhaps she could get on with or she would like. So I went with that, and I looked at interviewing the people as well. I asked for honesty. Tell me straight away if you don't think you can manage this. So what was not a good fit were people who interrogated Rosemary. She picked up on that straight away, asking question after question after question. They needed the art of discussion. Well, most of them, they came with experience. They'd done this before. Some of them were pushing their own agenda, which I pushed back because that's not what it's about. And some of it's my intuition too, I'm afraid. Times when you think, would this person, would they be a long-time carer, or are they going to tell me after a month that they don't think they can work here anymore?
A kind of sense from people that they were really going to be committed long-term.
Committed, yes, that's right.
Now, you've had good experiences with the workers that you have coming now, haven't you?
Yes, we have had some very good experiences. Things are going along very well. These people build trust. And they arrive on time and they're full of life and they're happy. Hello, how are you going? They seem to have a genuine interest in what Rosemary has to say, even though what she says, some of it is not factual. They listen. Because she's intuitive, as I said before, she picks up on false smiles, picks up on the body language. But these people, They're organised. They're adaptive to Rosemary's dementia moods. And they're building a good relationship with Rosemary and with me.
If I can just follow up a little bit on that, Ian, is there something then about an interpersonal skill, about being able to work with someone to adapt to where they are in that moment, on that day?
Well, some people in this world just get on with other people. And generally the secret to that is they're interested in the other person. It's not all about them.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's what it is. They show interest, and you just get that feeling of positivity from them that they're going to handle any little crisis that might pop up. So, yes, those skills, they come with people, or you try to build those skills.
Do you feel those are skills that they can build over time as they gain experience?
Well, because they've chosen to be in the care industry, yes. So yes, they've got one foot in the door because they want to be there.
Family carers are often a big part of the care relationship. But if you're new to the sector, you might not be aware there are services that work to support family and unpaid carers specifically. Services like Carer Gateway. Christine is a coordinator of service confirmation with Wellways Carer Gateway and has also worked in the aged care sector and NDIS. We asked Christine how the involvement of family carers in the relationship can impact what person-centredness looks like. Here's what she told us.
Some people don't want their family carers knowing the true extent of the supports that they're receiving. So person-centred care is all around respecting the privacy and the dignity of the person that is being cared for. So family carers at times sometimes don't believe that their loved ones need the help that is in place, but it's also choice and control of the person that is receiving the care.
Yeah.
So you've really got to get to know that person and their family so well, and just explain the reason that you're there supporting them today. And I think it's don't ever put your own thoughts of what you think is the best way to do something onto that person and that family. As someone coming into someone's home, you can sometimes be walking into someone's worst moment of that day, week, month or year, and you just have to be for them at that time. That's what's so important. Don't go into someone's house every week but not know just one little thing about them. You don't have to know everything, but take the time to know their grandchildren's name or their dog's name or just something.
Here's a conversation with Shireen, who's a dementia care coordinator with Blue Care. Shireen has worked with people living with dementia for many years, including as a dementia support worker. Now, Shireen, from a provider's perspective as well, what do you look for in care staff to know that they will provide high-quality person-centred care?
Okay, the first thing I always look for is this carer respectful of others? I really think that respect is so fundamentally important in how we establish and building relationships, and really being a personal carer is about the relationships that you have with the people that you're providing care for. I think sometimes I'll ask people about their experience of caring for someone within their family, and then, I can pick up where was the respect in that relationship with one of their elders, and how did they show empathy? So that ability to see things from another person's perspective. How do they demonstrate compassion? How do they demonstrate kindness?
Yeah. So are those things that can be learned, do you think?
That's a really interesting question, and look, there's lots of different perspectives on that. I think that if you want to be a personal carer, you do have to have some core value of empathy and compassion, and that is not something that can be taught. Certainly, how we translate those values into practice, how as a personal carer you actively use those in your work, can be nurtured and developed through training.
Yeah. So how did you develop your own person-centred approach?
I think that lots of life experience and from my learning role modelling, from looking at how my family looked after their elders. But then there's always that next step, isn't it, to reflect on, well, why did I think that was valuable within my family? And so, how can I translate my understanding from my family into working with these people and understanding where they might come from in what's important for them? And certainly, I've had the privilege of doing more training and doing some courses, and always interesting to use what other people have written to reflect on my practice. I think the other really important part is being involved in some groups, and certainly within Blue Care we have consumer reps, so people living with dementia that are involved in some of our working groups. So really listening to their perspective, that has contributed to my understanding of person-centred care for sure.
Yeah, it's a really good message for our listeners to know what's available to them in terms of training, upskilling, consumer groups that might be available within their provider organisations, that they could be tapping into that expertise as well to build their own practice.
And certainly more and more there's some really good advocacy groups within our community that are available to come and talk to workplaces and gives us a chance to really understand what their perspective is.
We also spoke with Jill, who has experience as a family member over extended periods of time supporting her father, her partner at the time, and her son in a caring role, but who also has over 30 years' experience as a care professional herself. So, Jill, what advice would you give our listeners from your experience, especially to other home care staff looking for ideas about how to develop their own person-centred approach?
Carers generally, Andrea, are really big-hearted with all the best intentions. And as carers, it's really easy to fall into a fixer role simply because we just want to help. And a person-centred approach for me really is about letting go of the fixer and being very mindful that I don't lose sight of the person behind their situation or behind their condition. It's about knowing that those we care for are the experts in their own lives. And person-centred care is a skill. It's about being fully present, and it's about listening and responding.
So are those skills people can develop, do you think?
Yes, they are, Andrea. They are skills that you can learn. Training, study, learning from others has been really helpful for me. And it's a purposeful way of engaging. And what guides me personally in supporting clients respectfully as individuals. Just learning to understand their likes, their dislikes, understanding their goals, their values, their dreams. Person-centred care is about being able to focus on doing with someone rather than doing it to them or doing it for them. Just being very mindful of my place and the space that I took up within that relationship, and just remembering that it's not about me. It's about the client. It's about what they truly need. And it's about what they need to be able to move forward with their lives, however that is or whatever that looks like, and being able to accommodate that for them.
I think some of the biggest messages we've heard from our guests today have been around those interpersonal skills in building rapport, communicating, showing genuine interest and respect and empathy. Because this is, after all, about humans supporting humans. And that's something people can feel and can sense from you. And the example from Ian was especially great to demonstrate that sense of genuineness and intuitive connection people can feel that isn't all just about the skills or experience someone has on paper. And the other important message we heard from our guests is that this is a relationship. But the person receiving care, their needs and preferences, their aspirations for their life are the point. They're the reason for that relationship. And I really like that idea that Jill raised of being mindful of the space you take up. I think that was reflected also in other people's comments about respecting the individual and what they value, and about being careful not to impose your views on people. Something we heard from a few people today was that if you have the right attitude, the right approach, the willingness to learn from experience, from modelling by others, from training, then this is an approach that you can grow and develop. That's today's snack. Thank you so much for joining us, and a big thank you to our guests for sharing their insights and ideas. If you want to find out more, you'll find some great resources and other good stuff on our website, kotaqld.org.au. You'll find links in the show notes. And please don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to make sure you get the next episode as soon as it's out. Until next time, thanks again and goodbye from the Kota Queensland team. This podcast is part of the Home Care Workforce Support Program, which received grant funding from the Australian Government.